That's what I'm talking about. 8 o'clock on the dot.
8 o'clock. Let's get it.
How are you today? Thank you for
I'm really
joining us.
good.
Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. We're going to give them a couple minutes to get logged in here. Make sure y'all share this with somebody y'all think can use this information. It's going to be a good night. Thursday is like my favorite day of the week.
Nice.
Now that we got this going. And I'm not going to lie, you had me looking at my own blueprint after we talked yesterday for a couple minutes. I'm like, yo, I'm there. I could switch some things up. I
Listen,
just take a time out. I might have to sit down for like 12 months. Use 12 months. It hurts in my mind
listen.
though. It
ROI.
hurts. It
ROI.
hurts. Exactly.
The highest return on your investment. That's the name of the game.
Look, I love it. So I'm not mad at it. Like you said, there's 12 different ways to do it. But you definitely had me thinking yesterday. I was like, because I could now, if I do one the way you doing it and one the way I've been doing it, I might be able to do, oh, look.
Listen, look, that's the balance. That's the balance. That's how you got to do it. No,
Look,
I'm
I'm,
mad at you.
all right, look, well, I appreciate it. But just know you inspired me just in the
Nice.
5 minutes that we talked.
Nice.
Well, we got 8:02. And we got a nice amount of people on here already. So definitely thank you guys for tuning in. You know, Thursday night, the investment blueprint. And we have a special guest. Karan is in here and she is going to tell you guys about herself. So go ahead, introduce yourself. Where are you from? Yeah, just tell people where you from and how'd you get started in real estate?
So obviously, I'm originally from Philadelphia. I got started in real estate just obviously being at a point in my life where investment was important. My retirement was super important, and I just wanted to park my money in a place where it could continue to grow. So I bought a property and just kind of went from there, which lended itself to other business ventures. So that's pretty much my story as far as how I got started.
Thank you. Thank you. So you were talking about your retirement. So what part, I guess, what is your goal with the retirement? Let's start there and how you're connecting real estate with that.
Sure, sure. So the investment properties for me, at some point you want to get to that point where you have multiple rentals and you have those, rents rolling in each month. And then when you get to that point where you're looking to retire, you have some I don't like the word passive income because I don't believe any of this is passive ever.
Okay.
So I don't use the word passive income, but that's what it's called.
Right, right, right.
You're, obviously receiving the rents over a period of time. You have access to what they call passive income.
Oh, well, we'll say residual because it keeps coming back. But it's
Residual is cool, but passive, there's nothing in real estate passive.
not so much. Right, right.
No,
Not so much. If
no.
it's a tenant phone call or you got to call a contractor, it's definitely something that you have to do.
Listen, I despise that word. Like when I see it and I read it, oh, passive income, even on an income statement, passive income. It's no such thing.
I did something to get that. I did something.
Or I'm doing things, you're
Right, right, right.
responsible. They're your liability. So there's no way to just kind of like, I mean, you can pull away for a week or two at a time, which we all talk about, but
Right.
passive it doesn't exist.
Okay. But let's touch on maybe even before you really were doing the physical properties, your design business.
So
And
so
go
the
ahead.
design business came after the first investment project just because
Okay.
I staged it myself. I had done all the interior design work, and then I was able to develop a business just from the demand of, fellow investors that wanted to go after that same, aesthetic. So when it comes to real estate, not a lot of people want to go the extra mile with the finishes and with those things that, the interior design portion of the investment project. Not a lot of people want to invest in that portion. So there was a business for me after, investing. I know we talked about me getting in preparation to be an investor
Right.
a year prior to buying my first property, but the businesses that came afterwards were a result of my projects. So I was an investor first and then a designer second.
Oh, so you did the investing first, but then when you went into the design mode, that took off within
Yeah,
itself. You saw the need as well as people saw your uniqueness in which were people getting like more money for their properties because of what you were adding to the project?
absolutely. So in our world, obviously, the ARV is the boss. You know, that's what creates the budget. That's what,
Right.
you know, determines what you're going to put into the project. So for me, I always wanted to increase my ARV with interior design, you know, process, like that just that whole process, right? The things that I add into it, you know, the process with, you know, being very meticulous about paint color and, you know, additions and building out certain areas of the home that some may neglect. And, you know, so obviously you increase the value. In my opinion, I feel like you can increase the value of your investment project if you pay the additional attention to the design portion or the design component of the renovation. And it's all, you know, very strategic. Like everything about what we put into these homes is intentional in terms of the
Okay.
money that we spend and the amount of money we intend to pull out the back end.
So are you like blowing the budget up with the design and the add-ons, or are these things like little subtle changes that still fits the budget, but it just gives it that pop?
I've been known to kill a budget or two, my own and my clients.
Okay.
You know, the budget part, you know, that's something, and you and I talked about this the other day. We can go out and say the renovations on this particular home, we're anticipating them to be $80,000.
Right.
Once I do the add-ons that I feel like would increase the value of the home, I look at the direct correlation between the return on my investment. So if I put in an additional $15,000 in high-end features or smart home appliances or any type of smart home features,
Okay.
those are directly connected to what I intend to increase the value of the home in the neighborhood and the comps in the neighborhood with those finishes.
But from that standpoint, the money will come back, if not multiply, because of those things. So from that standpoint, that's not a bad thing per se. And your houses don't sit on the market very long.
No, because they're unique, because I am a designer. So that's
Right.
my competitive edge, right? So I come from a design perspective. I've always been heavily into style and fashion and all those things. So to lend itself into my investment portfolio was a natural fit for
Okay.
me. And based on what I've been able to sell my properties for and kind of how I approach the renovation, I do look to invest a little bit more and also, you know, kind of sell for a little bit more. So again, we talked about this before. It's not just going in, putting in high-end floors, right?
Right.
It's going in, putting in, you know, building out the backyard, right? So there's a list of things that, you know, will increase the value of this home and draw more buyers, and you'll be able to pull out that money. So we don't say from a design perspective that we just want to go in and buy expensive tile and flooring and lighting and do things that we want to just make the house pretty. No, we intentionally go in as an investor looking to create a unique build, and I put the money into it. You know,
Right.
I'll back it financially to create the unique build and to also, you know, include features that I know will bring in higher numbers, you know, kind of once it's on the market.
Right. Somebody on here, they just said, one, that's smart, and two, they also said that's called branding. And I'm like, go
Listen,
ahead.
Brandon has been super duper major in my world. And I don't want to say it happened by accident. It happened in the process for me.
Okay.
I started out, I bought my first house. I bought it from you. We'll talk about that later.
We were gang warned a little bit in the beginning.
Listen, gang. Be honest with you. At closing, we was mean mugging.
It was all love. It was like, yo, we here, but it just was like we had a couple of discrepancies. So like people don't understand the back
Tell them
end.
a little bit about the story.
You want me or you?
Go ahead.
So I had a property I was wholesaling. So I called my colleague, my good friend Isaiah. He's like, yo, I got a buyer. It's a layup. She gonna buy it, no questions asked. So next thing I know, we go under contract. I get a phone call like, hey, the appraiser needs to go over. What appraiser? Like, who's going over there? Like, we doing what? Oh, she switched up the funding. She's using FHA 203K for a flip. And look, a wholesale deal off market, and it's a 203K. So when I tell you, we like, wait, Isaiah, you need to talk to your client. It's not gonna fly. He like, yo, we already under contract. What you gonna do? I'm like, no. All I know is now we at the settlement table 3 weeks later, and it's like, all right, we still getting our bread, right? Everybody
People
getting their
know.
bread, right?
Right. So from my perspective, becoming an investor was a 1 year long personal training just process that I put myself through. I read a ton of books. I went to every seminar I could possibly go to. I joined, lives and just followed those that I felt like, were big, like heavy hitters. I'm talking Trump, I'm talking heavy hitters. I wanted
Right.
to see Grant Cardone. I wanted to see what these guys were doing and how they become so successful. So I figured, if they're super successful, I can teach myself, the game. I have
Right.
3 degrees, so I wasn't going back to school. I had to teach myself this one.
I
So
understand.
I,
On the
I
job
did that.
training.
Sure, and I did that. And one of the things for me and my business model was to get cheap money. And I went on a very aggressive saving process where I buckled down. I went on a savings freeze. I didn't buy a single thing that was outside of my necessities.
No eating out.
Downsized.
No
I'm
no
sorry?
no eating out. No
Not
no
on me.
no no clothes shopping.
Not on me.
Okay. Okay.
Listen. But anyway, keep it real. But
I understand. I understand.
Yeah. So I just was very aggressive about saving. So at the end of the year, I had about $50,000. I had A1 credit. I had
Whoa,
no debt.
whoa. You say that too humble. You say that so humbly, like I just had 50,000. No. You saved $50,000 by being super disciplined, and you did that by just making your own mind up. Like that is people just don't do that. Like, oh, I'm just
That's the
going
luxury of being a woman. I'm not spending any of my own money. But listen, and you know what, Anthony, that's really important. I would definitely want to spend some time there because I talk a lot about wealth. I'm a big proponent, just advocate for having a wealth
Look at
mindset.
Belinda, like, she like, I'm with you. She like, let somebody else spend them.
Look, what's the meme? So no. But on a very serious note, I'm a huge advocate for, creating a wealth mindset and living our lives under, just very strict wealth discipline, right? So when we're starting out, you got to get a little culturally. I don't know, if we have any other people joining us, but culturally, we just don't really come from the ability of having our family members, donate $250,000 to our business venture. So we need to really understand, this is super important. You have so much money in your day-to-day spending that you do not even understand. Like, for instance, I can guarantee you that all of us can find an additional $1,000 in our already existing budgets, finances, expenses. I don't even care if, like, I did very specific things. I would walk instead of Uber. Like, if I was going to Uber with the friend, like, I have a car, but if I was going out with friends, like, I would get on the train, it's $2 versus $15.
Okay.
I was very, very conscious about coffee. Like, I would buy, coffee from home. I got a roommate. I put my student loans, which were $1,100 a month, on deferment for a whole year.
Okay.
So that was $1,100 every month that I was,
stacking
to bring in. Absolutely. Right. Living wise, I had another person splitting the rent with me now. I didn't want to live with anybody, but that $1,500 that person was paying half of, the expenses, was able, again, so now I got $1,100 a month, I got $1,500 a month, and I'm able to cut out, all I did was cut out coffee, liquor, and any type of, fast food or other spending for an entire year. So I would say I brought in $50,000,
nice.
So that's back to the story. I had multiple strategies. I didn't know if I was going to buy my first property cash, if I would find something that was $35,000 and decide to just finance the renovation portion or the construction portion of the project. But then I came up on the 203K loan, and I'm like, oh, 2%. Like,
and y'all gonna give me the money to rehab it.
Purchase price, renovations. I'm bringing $10,000 to the table. 2% over a 30-year, I'm paying like $900 a month. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how Isaiah, he was between you and I, because he didn't know. See, the way it works is you got to have the deal before you can get the funding. Right. So you were the deal. You were the house I wanted to buy. I wanted that house. I saw how old it was. I saw, you know, the potential and what I needed to do with that house. You guys agreed to sell me the house.
Right.
So that was the first thing. I signed the agreement with you guys. And then the second thing was to finance the deal, right? So you find the deal, you finance the deal, you manage the deal. Those are
Right.
the 3 phases to the process. I found the deal, and then I had to finance the deal. I went the route which allowed me to then buy another house. So I was able to buy 2 instead of 1 by going via, you know,
One
FHA. So,
FHA.
and it's really difficult to close on the FHA in 3 weeks.
Right.
And that was my promise to you guys, because you didn't want a long process. You wanted a
Right.
quick closing, which is the reason you guys were wholesaling it the way you were. You wanted to close quick. So I had to make it happen. Like I was with the mortgage guy like every single day, maybe 3-4 times a day. Like, and we closed in 3 weeks. And that house I made another $50,000 from.
And that was your first flip?
Out the gate.
So people would say, oh, that doesn't happen every day, but you were so disciplined that you had all your ducks lined up that you did that and beyond. You
So
not only bought another property, you made profit on your first flip, and then on top of that, it didn't cost you nearly as much if you would have went hard money.
Sure.
But can we talk about your contractor though? Because I feel like the contractor piece.
No, we can't talk about my contractors. They're terrible. I'm just joking.
Well, no. So thing is, like I tell people, contractors are like the most legit gangsters in the business because like they get away with so much, but it's like you need them. So it's like you have to go through 3 or 4 bad ones just before you get to a good one. You know, but not necessarily who they are, but I just want to talk about how key they were in your 203K process to help you with the documentation that's required for FHA.
Well, I had to switch contractors in the middle of the project just because the initial contractor that did the paperwork wasn't the person that finished the job.
Okay.
That happens, right? So the contractor piece for me is the most difficult piece for the renovation process. It is literally the one thing that I have very little control over, other than, you know, holding them accountable with documentation up front, you know, using their paycheck to kind of rear them in, you know, breaking the payments from, at one point it was half to a third to now we do it in 4s.
Right. The
25%, 25%, 25%, 25%.
Right.
Along the way based on progress.
Right.
So I don't go away from that. But the contractors, they're the most difficult part, right? In the beginning, the contractor portion of the 203K is not the most difficult thing. You can get a contractor that is licensed and will commit to doing a 203K. And the difficult part is to get them to finish the job.
Okay.
You know, so the paperwork for the loan is not a big deal. I am a huge fan of 203K. There's a lot of safeguards in place to protect you against contractors if it's your first deal.
Okay.
There's a lot of safeguards in place. Like I know, where, you know, your uncle had to sign some documents that protected me as a buyer in case things were to happen down the line.
Right. The contingency.
Absolutely. And then again, money that you bring to the table is a lot less. So, you know, the liability becomes a little less difficult, you know, for the 203K. I suggest everybody start out that way. It was great for me. I flipped out and I bought the house in 3 weeks. I was able to flip out in 4 months. The comps in the area were like 170. I sold for 200,000.
Yeah, so we were going crazy when we saw you listed, but again, your work was not like the average rehab in the area. Like you were one of the houses. You and Red Black Realty, they were up here like setting the tone in Overbrook. But when you came through, you took it up another 3-4 notches, 5 notches, you know, and it was like, Overbrook, like it's on the way. And Redfield Street. Yeah. People, but when they came inside, they was like, oh, I gotta have it.
Yeah.
I gotta have it.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. You know, being somebody who like I challenge myself with going beyond the comps. Like I don't use the comps. I use that as my base. So if you're telling me that 170,000 is the most that I can get, then I have to go dollar for dollar with what I put into the house to be sure that I can pull out a larger sell price. So that's a process.
Okay.
Some aren't willing to do that, but That's my thing.
So, and again, I think people have to realize too, you had the cash cushion for some of the changes and overrun, because also, correct me if I'm wrong, with 203K, you have to invest your initial money. Your contractor has to start it in order for you to get any draws from from the lender.
So that's where that $50,000 really came into play. The first withdrawal from that pot was the closing fees, which was like, after everything was all said and done, somewhere around $11,000. I own the house now, right?
Right.
Then after that, you do have to out of pocket front the first draw, because one, in Philadelphia, the contractors are in demand. They don't have to put up $30,000 for your project. They can go to the next person who's paying cash or not going 203K. So when you go the 203K route, you always have to plan to come out of pocket for the first phase of work. Out of the 4 phases, you're going to pay that first one. So that's another $30,000 that you will, need to invest to make sure you can get this project off the ground.
Gotcha.
So I did do that.
Right. So, and I feel like that's that safeguard that also helps you. So like I talk to people, they're like, yo, I want to do it, but I only got this $10,000. And I'm like, we need a little more cushion.
You're going to hurt yourself before you get started. This isn't that type of game where I've talked to so many people that have heard other people say, oh, I got into the game with 10 grand. Or, it should only cost, you can do it with 10, 11,000, not investing, maybe wholesaling or some other avenues in real estate. You can do that. But for investing, you always need to be in a position to pay the contractors, because otherwise your job will be at a halt, and time is money. Right. The real estate market changes every day. Comps change, lending changes, seasons change, the climate just changes. So when you get into something, you want to be able to finance your way out. Right.
And I know even for me with my last project, we had a few budget overruns with this project. And it was like, I'm glad that I had that money, because my lender's like, that's not on me. Like, that's on you. So it's like, I had to $4 grand here, $3 grand here, like front that money until it comes back when the property sells.
Absolutely. And that's the thing though. So, you'll get it back. But again, you have to be a strong, like a strong borrower. You have to just be financially stable. I would never, ever recommend anyone just say, I got a few bucks, so I bought a house and I'll see how it goes. And I'll, slowly try to come up with the money for the construction, or I'll see if I can get somebody to loan me the money for the construction and all that fun stuff.
Well, but can you touch on that discipline that it took you not to be such in a rush? Because you know how it is, the internet, everything just moves so fast. And, the gurus on social media are like, no money down, you don't need no money, just go ahead and do it, yada, yada, yada. But like you just said a key thing here. I put myself in position and I waited. There were deals before that I'm sure you probably could have did when you got the 25,000. But you said, no, I want to go ahead and put myself in position where I'm in total control from start to finish. So like, can you just touch on how you like really locked in and stayed disciplined until you got to that point?
Yeah, well, for me, everything is like a marathon. It's a journey. You can't look at it as a start to a finish, right? So for real estate, as it relates to me, I'm going to be in real estate for the rest of my life at this point. Some level of it lends itself to other things that I'm happy about, but this is what I'm going to do career-wise for the rest of my life. So to really put yourself in position, I've already been to school multiple times, so I understand what it takes. Like if you have to go to school for years before you can get a degree, which makes you qualified to do certain jobs. So you got to realize that's the same thing when it comes down to your own investment portfolio or your own new, investing career. You need to do the work. You need to have the education. That's actually more important than the money, because you can borrow money from wherever. That's just a thing now, right? So we have lenders all over the place that have different requirements. But the education and the experience from shadowing someone that has done it before, from reading the books of experts, from sitting in the class and getting the knowledge and the fundamentals. I actually have a real estate license in Arizona. I just did that because I was out there. Arizona is like quiet, nothing was going on. So the fundamentals of real estate is going to be very important. And those are stages that you cannot skip, nor can you delay those things.
Right.
Right now, like everybody that's on the live, if you're interested in being an investor, the first thing you need to do is understand the fundamentals behind it. We can't just read quotes and join Instagram comments and things like that. Like, you really got to understand. You have to know terminology. You have to be able to interpret finance. And again, you really do have to have a disciplined mindset.
Right.
Where you can put a year of studying aside, and you can, discipline financially. Like, discipline is literally the first rule to all of this. You know what I mean? Like, being able to buckle down financially for the larger gain.
Right.
All right, cool. I'm going to do a spend and freeze, even if it's 5 years. Invest 5 years in yourself, because that 5 years is going to go by anyway.
Right.
And if you've determined how much it's going to cost, all you have is you. All you have is your abilities, your time, and you know what I mean? So you really do need to figure out, you got a lot of questions coming in. You really do need to figure out personally what you can commit to your overall goal, because it's gonna take everything you got to do this thing the right way.
Right. Especially once you get into these rehabs, they turn into an animal within themselves. I say all the houses got their own personality. No one house is alike.
I like that. And it's like you walk in like, all right.
Right. What you got for me today, kind of thing.
And then, they got multiple personalities in one house too, right? So you got to remember that.
Right. Because you might get something different upstairs than you get downstairs, and then don't forget the contractor's personality in the middle of all of that.
And then as an investor, with these houses, it's so unknown. Like, again, we talk about what my preference is. My preference is 100-year-old homes. Okay. I buy houses that are roughly 100 years old or older, and I jam in modern amenities. So you got good, strong bones. You got character for a city that really thrives off of historical significance.
Right.
We maintain the foundation of the home. For me, I haven't torn anything down to the ground yet, and I just don't want to do that right this second. I maintain the foundation, the exterior, and all that fun stuff, and upgrade it, and then I jam in the modern amenities.
Right.
So it's like it goes from the ugliest house on the block to the most beautiful house on the block. It's all of my houses are the most beautiful house, and I'm not just being arrogant. It's like,
no, that's no cap.
That's the plan.
That's a fact.
That's the execution.
That's a fact. Right. That's definitely a fact. That's definitely a fact.
So getting involved, we just mentioned briefly about how things can change real quick when you get into the middle of a rehab. How you can find things behind the walls. There's so many phases of unknown variables when you flip a property that you have to be prepared for. And 15% contingency is no longer enough. It's no longer enough.
So I'm definitely with you on that, because that's why I said, like, one house I only needed like a $5,000 buffer. I thought it was cool. Then the last one I did, that 5 turned into 15.
Yeah, like you can't.
15%
contingency now is included in the renovation budget.
Right.
So let's say, for instance, I'm gonna do an $80,000 renovation, and I got 15% contingency. Now I got another $10,000. I can guarantee you're thinking I got $90,000. So what happens when the other $20,000 worth of renovation costs sneak up on you?
Right. And then the good thing is, again, you saved that extra nest egg of money. You didn't take it and try to do too much. You got it started. You were in position. So if something did go wrong, you were still able to maintain. And then, not to mention, I think some people forget, you still got to take care of your home life in addition to dealing with the property and a project. I remember my first rehab, it went crazy. The contractor started getting high. Now I know he was getting high, but back then, Nah, so I ain't gonna lie. I thought he was cool. Next thing I know, they say main man up there in Kensington somewhere. But I'm talking about the house was looking good. He do great work.
That's embarrassing. In no other industry are you allowed to rip people off, come to work when you feel like it, get high, drink beer on the job.
Oh, I got one for you. The beer on the job. My contractor said his signature was to leave the beer bottles behind the sheetrock in the basement. He said that's his artwork for the people later on down the line, like later. I said, nice. Yo, get that out of my,
nice.
out of my, out
you
of.
gotta love it. Like, that's not. See, this is the part. This is my weakness. My weakness is I'm an extremely rational person.
Okay.
And I think 1 + 1 should always equal 2.
Mm-hmm.
And if I pay you to do a job, I expect that job done. Now, guys, as it relates to, you know, this being an experience kind of conversation, it does not happen like that. I cannot sleep at night because I have one contractor who is like showing up once a week. Like, how are you getting paid $15,000, guys? This is not a little bit of money.
Right.
Like, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars goes into this stuff.
Right.
This isn't, I mean, there's times where I'll work an interior design job just to do other things with other property. I'm giving my profit to these people who aren't even coming to work. And when they come to work, they're drunk. Like,
don't got their tools.
The contractors will destroy you if you do not get in front of it, if you do not have a plan personally.
Right. So I've been learning you got to have 2 to 3 of the same person. So if one fall off or one, now it's like, I don't even need you to do bad. I just need you not to show up, and I'm calling the next person. Because like we talked about earlier, my time is the most valuable thing I can't get back.
Absolutely. So I don't even think in this climate and in Philadelphia that we have the option to have a plan A, B, and C. When my contractors screw up, this is literally the most, and I'm going to use this word, it's not a politically correct word, but my contractors are the most raggedy part of my career as it relates to investing.
Right.
And when one screws up, I don't always have a plan B. So it could take me up to 3 weeks to replace them.
Right. So I will say, for me at least, I was fortunate. By my third flip, I found a great contractor that came with the package, and he's been like, me and him are creative genius. It works together. So now my rehab, they not at your level yet, but I'm getting there though. I'll be watching your stuff, so I'm getting there. I'm doing the tray ceilings in the master bedroom now.
Tray ceilings?
Yeah, I got the ceilings popping. Look, I got the island. I got the island with the little feng shui popping in there. You know, we getting there. Because I was originally like, oh no, we just gonna paint this, you know, the light tan and do some nice hardwood floors. We cool. Then it's like, oh, my stuff's sitting on the market a little too long.
Don't cheat yourself. That's what it will do. Don't cheat yourself. I have a lot of colleagues that reach out to me and they turn the design portion of their renovation over to me and my team.
Yes.
That's created a whole nother business venture for me. Like I'm actually managing 3 other projects just for fellow investors because they understand the need for, you know, a unique build. Okay. You cannot do contractor grade finishes anymore. It's so much, you know, so many properties are going on the market with the exact same stuff, the exact cabinets, the exact same bathroom. How many times do you see a vanity and you see it 10, 15 times?
So now I know, oh, that's Lowe's versus they got that from somewhere else. And I know Lowe's grade from Home Depot. But again, that's why I said, like, luckily my contractor, he be like, he gets on me. He, like you just said, like, yo, Ant, you got to cut that out. Like, spend that extra $75. It don't even be that bad. He just be like, yo, spend that extra.
It's not that bad.
But it's in really my mind, it's adding up. It just keep adding up.
Now stop. We're not doing that. Stop. But you know what though, guys? Let's be honest. It does add up. When you start going into the interior design portion of a renovation project, it can get crazy. But once again, we talk about you have to be a disciplined individual, right? Being a disciplined professional. You need to make those judgment calls. And again, I have classes and I also have, you know, I outsource my services where I go in and I consult, you know, for a fee where I'll tell a client, here's where you invest your extra money. This is where you're going to get a direct return on your investment. I would never say haphazardly go out and just make your property swanky. It's no need for that because again, this is not your home. Right. This is something that you have to be sure is going to appease to the masses. So you want to, you know, like high-end appliances, making a smart home, do it.
Okay.
Do it. Build out your backyard, build out your basement, any additions that you can possibly do. I always encourage high-end appliances, you know, energy efficient.
What about in rentals too? Are we doing the same grade of work in the rentals?
The better the house you have, the more you can demand in rent. You do need to make sure that everything you buy is durable. Durability is my main concern when I'm designing a rental because I understand the turnover. I understand how people do when they drive a rental car. You know, you're going to just drive it. You're going to hit all the potholes. You're going to give it back.
I'm going to give it back. It don't matter. Right. So that end, I would say just making sure that whatever you are getting, that you know you can always go back to a store and buy it. You don't have to wait. It's not a special order kind of thing for the rentals. For the flips, is different.
There's a lot of packages out there because this is what I do. I'm always researching appliance specials, packages where you get all 4 appliances for $1,600, and they're Samsung appliances.
Okay.
I'm up all night looking for, coupons on the high-end tile. Like, I'm not saying that I'm going to go crazy and spend $50,000. I'm saying I'm going to get it done. And a lot of times you can do small things that are super inexpensive. And I'll give you an example. Mismatching the colors for the top and bottom cabinets is an inexpensive thing now.
Doing like the gray bottom and the white top?
For the same price as if you were to got white top and bottom, but it adds depth into the kitchen, it adds character, it adds an emotional connection and a draw, and it's just interesting. Anything that's going to give you some sort of standalone, ability from everything else that's on the market, you always know that your buyers are not going to just be looking at one home. Right. They're going to look at 10, 15, 20 different houses, if not more. So the last thing you want is to have them walk into a space that looks exactly like everything else on the market. When you can achieve some sort of unique build, you will get a buyer faster and you may be able to demand more money. Okay. It's a fact. It's just a science to it.
No, I like that. I definitely like that. Can you also maybe share on how are you managing your 9-to-5 life and doing all these projects? Like a lot of people, people are always saying, oh, I got to quit to do it. You don't have to quit. Here's somebody who was a living example that it still has a day job, still running her business. And look, you're doing just fine. You're making it work.
I can't tell you that my life is not absolute bananas. So I'm director of sales for a company on Broad and Walnut here in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I run the interior design firm, which happened as a result of the flips. And then I have 2 job sites going on right now, my own personal projects that are full gut rehabs, right?
Okay.
What happens is you never realize how much you're capable of doing until you're pushed to do that. Prior to real estate, I would get off at 5:30 and be exhausted, thinking I need to go home, I need to get in the shower, I need a glass of wine. I'm done for the day. Now I have to hit the reset button at 5 o'clock, and I have to then go to my second job. Everything that you guys see as far as social media and my presence on anything is evenings and weekends.
Okay.
That's it. I got about 40 hours a week aside from my first job that I can invest into developing the business and flipping these houses.
Right.
So it's really about your threshold, telling yourself that you can do a lot more than you think you can do. I know for a fact I used to be exhausted at 5:30. Now I have 5 or 6 more hours of work to do, if not more.
But also, let me ask. You found something that you enjoy doing, so you get that second burst of energy after 5 o'clock.
I found something that I prefer doing. So that's even better.
I love it.
So that's even better for me because I just, I love it. And I know at some point, it'll outgrow the need for the full-time position that I have, but I just have the ability to, you know what I mean? Like if you can do it, you will. Right. If you can work a job and flip properties and run a business, you should.
Right.
I'm not suggesting. Sometimes people will try to take a stab at me, like, she still has a job. So
right there, like that makes you less, but it doesn't.
It makes me have to work 3 jobs.
Right. But I also say that puts you above the people who are self-employed per se, because you got W-2 income, which is solid. Excellent. And we already know, look, you done got your credit in position, you got your cash reserves in position, so you really could have it your way out here if you wanted to. Well, you are having it your way out here, rather.
Yeah. I maintain a 6-figure position. That's the thing. If I was making 40 or 50,000, I would have left my job a long time ago.
I got you.
But you know what I mean? Like, I have multiple degrees. I maintain a 6-figure position. I'm not leaving.
Right. So, and that's the thing. You're using that 9-to-5 money still creating money. So you don't have to just one rely on just one thing. Two, you have other ways to save, and you're also not splurging super crazy, like living above your means. Like Auntie Aisha's always saying, like, yo, every time your income goes up, you just keep
You
buying,
do
buying,
not
buying more
upgrade your
stuff.
lifestyle.
Right. Don't upgrade your lifestyle.
But
So
here's what I always recommend. So by me having, and this is just my own personal story, by me having a full-time job, that is what I use to finance my living expenses. The money that comes in from the flips go right into I bought 1, 3, and it goes down, right? So 1, 3, 5, 7, all that money I have not made. I've been in real estate for 2 years. I have not made a single dime from real estate. I have not pulled a single dime from real estate yet. And the project I'm working on right now should net about $100,000. And I don't plan on pulling a
big
dime.
flux.
Well, listen, let's talk about the numbers. I bought the house for $65,000. The ARV is $379. What do you think I'm gonna sell the house for?
Knowing you, 410, 415.
I'm gonna stay at 4 because you know
Oh,
we
you
get
go
shaky.
okay. Okay.
So that's the numbers, right? So I bought the house for $65,000. It's worth $400,000 now. You know,
Can't
I
beat
spent
that.
about 120 into it.
Right.
If I ever make it out of there, I know I got people that laugh at me because Washington Lane has been a disaster.
Everything can happen has happened.
Everything, COVID, a pandemic, really?
Stuff we can't even think of that just happened. Right.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
once you get to that, it's like,
All bets are off. Just
think about it. The average stuff happened. The out of the box stuff happened. A pandemic happened.
right.
You know, we got a crisis, a cultural crisis. I mean, but whatever.
All of the above. Right. Somebody said you got your health care, your pension being paid.
Retirement, financial freedom.
Right. Like, yup. See, people be trying to sweep that under the rug. Don't forget the other benefits. So
look,
like for me,
look, but let's not forget about the drinking problem that I had.
it's look,
I saw you take a sip.
that's what our Thursday nights are for. It's all right. It's all right.
I drink more. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. I'm exhausted.
It could be worse. It could be worse. It's cool. We're not mad at you.
No, but let's really highlight the specifics, right? So your investment projects, if you maintain other income, I'm not saying have a job because that's really difficult. It really is really difficult for me to go into a job, even if it's 6 figures. I'm working one project that I'm gonna make 6 figures on. You know what I mean? So it's really difficult to go to a job every day with all the other stuff that I have going on. It's extremely difficult, right? But if you find a way to have a secondary source of income aside from your renovations and your investment portfolio, it's a big plus. And then if you somehow develop another business, like I'm developing a interior design firm,
right?
Which went from staging, which is huge. Like we're staging 6, 7, 8 houses a month. Like it's a big part of the income that I bring in, just staging alone.
That's love.
We're talking about interior design. And then now we're doing renovations for fellow investors and personal home renovations, which is kitchens and baths and going in and just gutting out. Like I have a couple projects where we're doing powder rooms and bathrooms and things like that. So think about how that goes. All of the money from the interior design business, I was able to dump back into the business to grow the business. I was able to pay for marketing. I was able to pay for additional furniture. Like I own every piece of furniture that goes into the staging. I own it
already.
I have to store it. It's monthly fees that come with stores. There's trucks involved. There's staff involved. I have movers and junior designers that are working 7 days a week around the clock. My staff, my team that work for me. So again, I don't pull money from that business either. Just out of, like you said, out of mere discipline. I live off of the money from my paycheck job.
So you keep sliding that in, right? About not living off of it. So can I ask or can I make the assumption? Are we using those funds to buy rentals and now you'll have a portfolio of rentals as well?
As you should. You should assume that.
Free and clear.
Free
and clear.
You should assume that.
Right. So now people be like, yo, I got 30 cribs. You really don't need 30 cribs if you'd have set it up from the beginning either to get different mortgages that you could pay them off really fast, and even if you do get
Five
mortgages,
sometimes.
right? But gentleman, I forget who it was, but he was saying, say for every, oh, it's Justin, for every 3 houses he has, he only has 1 mortgage. And then every time he does another deal, he takes that money and pays down the mortgage on the first one again. So off of every house, he goes by 2 more houses, free and clear.
That's why I still have my job. Because I don't want to, like, I fear the day where I have to wait for a house to sell to be able to
have income,
my personal expenses for 6 months.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, I know that another source, multiple streams of income, guys, I can't stress it enough. This is why I bust my ass. This is why I don't take breaks, because I have to.
Okay.
If I stop right now, then I'm leaning more on this than on that. And that's not the plan. At least not for the next 4 years. For the next 4 years, I'm going to work all 3 jobs.
Look, you jumped my question, but I like that. You jumped up, but I like that. So the next 4 years. No, you keep going.
No, listen to your question.
Look, you just wanted to get to the cup. I ain't mad at you.
Listen, it's that time of the day. No, real estate has really caused me to drink a lot.
It's not real estate. It's not real estate. It's the people. It's the people. So the contractors, the people, because don't forget you got the neighbors that, you know, like I had the neighbors at the project I'm working on now. It's like I'm rehabbing the house they had a speakeasy in the basement with a stage. I'm talking about a go-go in the basement.
They had a go-go.
A go-go with a fish tank the size of a wall, like a full-blown fish tank. It was going down in there, in the basement. And then upstairs, they was renting rooms and doing who knows what. I'm rehabbing the house. Y'all gonna get mad at me about making too much noise or because I left a little bit of debris in like trash. Like, yo, y'all know I take trash out every week. So like, why y'all call L&I on me, or why are y'all like fussing with me?
The neighbors enjoyed that go-go.
Oh, I messed up their situation.
And now they mad. Like, how you gonna shut down our after hours? The neighbors is definitely the second nightmare of the job.
Okay.
Every time I thought I met the worst neighbors, I meet another worst neighbor.
I got you.
I remember and to me, it's really like counterproductive, because if I bought a house, the one that I'm working on, if I bought a house for $65,000, that lets me know what your property is worth on this block, because they're old and they're distressed and they're all falling down. So what happens when I now renovate this house and make it $400,000? I know your taxes is going to go up, which is why you're mad at me, because that's what happens in Philly. Right. But even still, you can then refi because you have higher comps now.
Right.
You have a proven, you know, kind of like something to benchmark to say that your house is now more valuable without doing anything to it.
Right. And you could use that money to improve your house or, you know, live your best life, whatever you want. But I'm helping you do that.
I tell them all the time, you are standing in the way of your own progress.
There you go. I'm going to have to use that, because I ain't going to lie, I get kind of mad.
But, you know, I had them call L&I on me. I give permits from start to finish. I put a window in, I want a permit for it. Because you know why? I hate that stomach virus feeling when they start threatening to call L&I and you're like, damn, you know, I like to play by the rules. I
understand. Well, if your paperwork is legit, just like we talked about, that discipline, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing they can say to me. There's nothing they can say, because that's what happened. They called L&I, and main man was like, I don't know why they called. He was like, you got all your papers in the window. He just was like, I needed to come see the building to do your initial inspection. So he's like, I'm here now. Let's knock it out. So, you know. The
L&I inspectors, you know, I think they're not so much. In the past, I feel like they would really advocate for the neighbors. But now they see the foolishness. So I think that they're really neutral. If your paperwork is in order. One time I did dig a basement out without a permit, but that's a whole nother thing. We won't. That's a whole.
Right, we don't know who's watching this. We won't talk about that. We won't talk about that.
No, but I think the investors are super fair. As long as you start out with your general building permit, and then anything that you want to do specialty wise, if you have your plans in place, and you just make sure your trades pull their permits. I know that's difficult, because you can be a person of integrity that want to pull permits. But then you'll have trades that you're saying, hey, man, did you get your permit? This plumber, I'm going to go down. I got 4 properties. Right. I'm going to go down. So, that's a whole nother management piece as it relates to L&I, neighbors, permits, and that whole, topic.
Definitely. But I will say what I've been doing, like we talked about before I make that initial payment, I need you to come with your permit. Because once I pull the building permit, there's no excuse why you don't have your permits when you want to show up on the job site. So no, if you don't bring that permit, I don't have that check.
Absolutely. You know, it's accountability, you know. They're your team. You need to manage them. Right. I have learned so much over the years as it relates to getting the most out of a contractor. And, you know, throwing around authority isn't it. What's been most helpful for me as it relates to contractors, because contracts don't really help, I find. They'll walk
unless you want to spend that money to go to court.
There it is. How often do we want to go to court?
Right, and I'm rehabbing a project now. I got to take the time out to go file.
Yeah, so that's not what we want to do. But I found that, you know, really being a team-based, having a team-based spirit, being very, very team-based oriented, and just kind of getting involved. That's why you see me on the roof. Mm-hmm. That's why you see me when I were digging out 13 inches in the basement. I'm dead smacking. I'm in the hole. So all that red bottom stuff y'all see goes away. You know, I'm down there for every single phase. I am there every single day. I had to pull myself away from the house to come here to talk with you guys,
and we appreciate that. We appreciate that.
I'm glad to be here, but that's a really big deal as it relates to contractors. Really having a team-based spirit, really letting them know. One of the things that I found, the sooner we get this done, the faster y'all can move on. So dragging your tail, and this doesn't always work, but dragging a job out hurts both of us.
Right. And now you got to hear my mouth. I'm stuck with you. You stuck with me, and I ain't give you all your money.
It's hurtful to me to not be there 9 to 5. I will say that.
Okay.
Because I have guys working during the day. Mm-hmm. And by me getting there at 6, sometimes they're gone by the time I get there. But if there's an issue, I can have them hang out and I can get involved. And on the weekends, I'm heavily involved. So again, I want you to know that is one caveat. If you work a full-time job 9 to 5 and you have a construction site rolling that starts at 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever time you start, and it's not until 5 or 6 that you can get there, that could also be very, 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 very difficult.
But I will say, if you have that point person that you trust, that could be, you know, like your eyes on the ground kind of thing, you know, between FaceTime pictures and, you know, like I use WhatsApp to communicate, like, yo, just send me pictures and let's talk about it. We'll figure it out until I get there kind of thing.
You have to be, with whatever you do, you need to be very aggressive and innovative and determined to make it work based on what works for you. Just like when we talked about that 203K with the first deal. It was so beneficial to me that I was determined to make it work. Right. Once you understand the benefit of it and you work backwards and you're not afraid of pain, because this is painful. I'm at work and I get 3 phone calls from all kinds of crazy stuff that I have no control over because I'm not there and I can't get there right now.
Right.
So it's painful. But you have to go through all of that and get to the end, and by any means necessary,
get it done.
It work.
Right.
Make it work. It's about the books because the fundamentals are important. But once you get that, it's really going to be about your mindset and your spirit and your inability to quit. Trust me when I tell you, it's a lot easier to try again than it is to quit for me.
Mm.
I'd rather try again, keep trying, because I can't walk away.
Right.
Like, that's just not an option. Like,
but that's an internal trigger right there, not being able to quit, because it's like that conversation that you keep having with yourself about quitting is talk about painful, make you sick. That's the thing that's what we're not gonna have. That's what we're not. I've
already been sick.
So I might as well get something out of it.
You know, you get physically sick. Like, stress is really, it could kill you.
Right.
This is the most stressful thing I have ever done in my life. And I just keep showing up for more every single day. Like, I go back. It's like you toss and turn all night. It's things that can happen. You can have fires over the night. You can have floods overnight. You can have vandalism overnight, robberies overnight. They steal materials. I've had my own internal HVAC guys steal both my condenser and my internal heater HVAC units, $3,000 worth of materials. What are you gonna do?
Right. I had a contractor steal his own tools and say we did it. I'm talking about, like, it was like all of a sudden. Yeah, all of a sudden we got all these tools at the house, and I'm like, you leaving them here? Like, yeah. And all of a sudden they got broken into over the weekend.
Look, our guy just said how we handle the stress. Come on, let's show him. Al. He said, how do we handle the stress?
Well, real quick, right? We got 5 minutes
He
before it
said,
cut.
besides the alcohol.
We got 5 minutes before it cut off, right? But I'll just say we talked about this last week with Coco. So like and I had to do this for myself just to keep my sanity, but then also to be a dad, be a husband. So like I go to therapy once a month. So that's my thing with the stress. So I've been able to use that to just unload and talk myself through stuff. And that definitely has been helping me. I feel like unlock more genius and get them ideas out my head.
So for me, I utilize balance.
Okay.
There are times where I escape. Like I'll be in Dallas tomorrow.
That's
Um,
what's up. Right. I
half
see you're big
leisure,
on traveling.
half leisure, half business. You know, I try to find those internal hacks. You have to know yourself, and you just have to be committed, right, to doing what you do, and create a level of balance for yourself. Find out what it is you enjoy. You know, when it comes to me, you'll see my page and you see this Hollywood diva. That's with balance. That is with balance. I treat myself maybe 2-3 times a year with money from projects that I purposely did so that it could
Just
go
for
into
that.
that budget.
Okay.
Absolutely. I don't spend my own money. I am a huge like advocate for you have to have a property to pay every one of your liabilities.
Expenses. Right.
Your liabilities should be covered with your investment portfolio. So, and that's, you know, not 100% all the time. I'm not saying if I decide to make a purchase, it always comes from.
Well, that or one of your businesses is, but long as it's not pulling out of the personal life stuff.
Absolutely. So
Right.
again, balance and knowing yourself. Traveling is a huge reset to my battery. Huge, huge, huge. When I leave and go away, I can come back. It's like, here's what it is. Do you realize that your cup will run over when you do all these things, right? It just coincidentally spills over.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you take a proactive approach when you feel yourself like building up the anxiety from all that we do and all that we manage, and you fly out and you empty your cup in a
Mm-hmm.
healthy manner, and then you come back with an empty cup and you're able to do more and you're able to take in more because it is a lot, and it does
Ooh.
not. You don't turn this off.
Right.
As a real estate investor, it does not turn off. The tragedies are frequent, and you need to be in the best mind space to keep it moving and to make sure you can finish strong.
So I love that, and I'm gonna leave them like just with that solid piece right there because I feel like you just gave them like so much heat right there. You gave them a lot of heat. So before it cuts off on us, if you can you share some of your favorite books that either inspired you for real estate or just books that just gave you your balance?
Very, very, very trivial books, guys. There's no secret. There's no secret to the kind of books you should read. You've heard it over and over again. I'm going to reiterate it again to you right now. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you did not read that book, that is your homework. That is the metamorphosis from your mind to go from being a consumer to being an investor, to go from being an earner to being an investor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it lets you know it. When I read that book, I realized I had a glass ceiling over my head at my job, and I would never get rich from the traditional model, which is go to school, get a job, retire. You will never have the quality of life that you think is abundant doing it that way, ever. You need to read that book. You need to get your mind right. You need to figure out where the secrets are, where the legal loopholes are, and how the really wealthy people in the world
Are making it
manage to
happen.
get to that point. It's not a secret. The secret is not a secret. It's in a book.
There lies the secret in the book.
Absolutely. So the other one for me, okay, so Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you didn't read it, that is your homework. I don't want a single person walking earth that did not read that book.
Don't be DMing her and you ain't do your homework yet because it's in the book and
Don't
she'll
DM
want
me
right
asking me something. I'm gonna point you
to the book.
No. But I'm on a serious note. And then the other book for me was 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
It was so much character building in that book. Like honestly, I like rule number 2: never outshine your master.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, I'm very competitive. I have a huge ego. So to say that to me, it's like never outshine my master. No, but you really do have to understand that there's levels to things. And in order to get to the next level, you got to respect the level above you.
Right.
And you gotta make sure you pay homage to those things. So that's book number 2.
25 seconds before they cut it. Just FYI.
Richest Man in Babylon. I
Boom.
like that book a lot. I think it helps also with the mindset shift and how to know how to do small things over a period of time to create, that compound effect.
All right. So once again, I just want to thank you for doing this. Don't forget, guys, next Thursday. Well, look, I gotta ask. You got a couple more minutes because it's about the Clippers.